Welcome to Everything Life Coaching. I'm John Kim.
And I'm Noelle Cordeaux. We are the founders of JRNI Coaching.
We're super passionate about all things coaching and want to share what we've learned from over a decade of coaching and training over 1,000 life coaches.
Dive deep into a more meaningful career, find freedom, and make an impact on the world around you.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Everything Life Coaching. Today we have a really great topic, how to handle imposter syndrome. Noelle, this is a question we get all the time from not only students, but just people around us, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And it's something that I've certainly experienced in my life. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's normal. I think if you don't experience this, either you're not being honest or something is wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And the statistics show that 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives.
Mm. So 70% of people experience, is this in the workplace or just in general?
In general, I think that imposter syndrome typically tends to flow from and with our concepts of work, who we are, what we do,
Yeah,
and that's the most common place that we experience imposter syndrome. But I think that people experience it in all different ways. In relationships, in marriages, in experiences. Joining a new gym
right.
or, doing anything new, really.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you feel inadequacy, insecurity, if you feel that you don't belong or you're a fraud in some kind of way, this imposter syndrome definitely brightens.
Yeah, it's true, and I think that this shows up for coaches especially, which is why we're talking about it, for a lot of different reasons, because coaching is an emerging field, number
Mhm.
1. So, what is a coach? Who can be a coach? What does a coach look like? All of that is totally up for grabs in today's marketplace. And then secondarily, the concept of life coaches has gotten so backwards. Whenever I go to parties, in the pre-COVID days, and I said, "Oh, I'm a life coach," the first thing people say to me is, "Oh, tell me how to fix my life. Tell me what to do with my life."
Mhm.
And there's an assumption that I must have some sort of crystal ball, and or that I have my own life together and am therefore an example
Yeah.
of what someone should be doing with their time.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that in my office hours and in class, one of the greatest reasons why a lot of coaches feel imposter syndrome is because they haven't defined the difference between a therapist and a coach. And they think because they don't have a clinical background that they are fraudulent when coaching.
Ooh, that's a big deal.
Hmm.
Oh man, send those nuggets my way. We can talk about it. And, first of all, thank you for doing that. And guys, if you're listening, this is one of the values of coming to office hours, of engaging with mentors, to take those fears and put them out on the table so that we can work through them.
Yeah, and if you don't know, both Noel and I run office hours. We do it differently, different times. But what's cool is, instead of having a conversation in a classroom, it's kind of like, the office with your professor in a small group of people. So it's one of the things that we provide at JRNI Coaching.
It is. And as we're circling with imposter syndrome, I think it's important to let folks know that if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, it's real, it's valid, and it's something that you shouldn't let go. You should pay attention to it and you should really work to deal with it because it contributes to anxiety and depression.
Yeah, just ignoring or pretend like you don't have it is only going to amplify it, right? And this is what happens when we experience imposter syndrome: feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. Noel mentioned depression for sure, self-sabotaging behavior that manifests in fears, kills originality. So you are, especially today with social media, you may be copying other people because you think if you copy them, then you'll feel less of an imposter, right? Slows down productivity, and
Yep.
folks never start. So like it actually creates a wall or a fence.
Absolutely. And, you know, this is the killer of dreams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Basically, in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's the killer of dreams.
Imposter syndrome is the killer of dreams,
That's
and
so
it has
true.
deep roots, and those roots lie in social construction. They could be family expectations, our relationship with education, as you mentioned with the therapeutic world, or even constructed ideas of what people who do certain jobs are supposed to look like
Yeah,
can really get in the way.
yeah. Old definitions keep us feeling this way.
Yeah. So let's start to bust some of these bubbles and let's hone in on specifically the thing that coaches and young coaches experience.
Yeah.
First up, coaching is still new and an emerging field. And literally, everyone in the space is truly figuring it out as they go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in the last few years, it's growing exponentially. It's almost like a wildfire. Where I feel like when I first started about 12 years ago, there was a light, maybe a pilot light, and it's kind of started growing. But now I feel like it's a wildfire, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah, and along with that, you and I have been doing this for over 10 years. I think I'm almost at 12. You're just
hmm
about the same. At this exact point in time, 12 years in, do you, John, feel like you know what you're doing?
No, I get butterflies. I have self doubt. I feel, like I'm crazy and all of that. But here's the thing, it doesn't stop me from doing it. I think that's the greatest difference. I think that if you have imposter syndrome, where it is actually preventing you from moving, and like what Noelle is saying, if it's killing your dreams and you are not moving forward and building, then it's a problem. So for me, it doesn't stop me, but I have all those fears, of course.
And I do too. I absolutely do too. And so for it shows up for us in really different ways. So for me, the thing that has been the most terrifying that I've actually I worked with a coach to get over was my fear of appearing on film.
Mm. Which is really, funny because that's not at all my my fear. It's the complete
I know.
opposite, right? Uh, which is, great because that just shows our differences, right? So,
Indeed, and I just wanted to be really vulnerable about that because I'm such a public person, and that is something that legit terrifies me.
yeah,
And every time that we do a webinar or I hop on camera with folks, like I'm pacing back and forth in the background. And then
yeah,
once I get going and I get my flow, I feel good and I'm engaged, but it takes a minute. And so I want to validate everybody else who feels that way too. It's normal, it's natural. You're not the only one.
yeah.
And given that John and I are so different, this is our next point. You are good enough, and your ideas are important because they are different.
Mm,
If we all had the same voice, the coaching space would be so weird and so boring. And we need new and diverse voices to come into this space because coaching is traditionally female and traditionally white and traditionally corporate dominated, and the space needs a shakeup. So
yeah.
bring all of your snazzy, sparkly marbles. Let's play because we need to get this thing going in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, the world doesn't need any more cardboard cutout coaches, and I
No.
think the double-edged sword with coaching is as it grows, as the fire spreads and more people have a genuine desire to help other people, you're going to see a lot of cardboard cutouts. You're going to see a lot of people who think this is what it looks like to be a coach, and they're going to be very safe in copying other people, but it's going to be the people that stand out and kind of color outside the lines and really lean into their discomfort and be authentically themselves. Those are the people I think that are going to change the game and also be successful.
Yes, leading into discomfort and leaning into difference.
hmm
So let's talk about the cardboard cutouts and let's talk about the reality of what's going on. Last night, I had the beautiful experience. One of our journey coaches hosted a healing meditation, and I
Mm,
got to see some folks from our organization that I hadn't seen in a while. And one of the little threads of conversation that was going around is, "I hate social media so much," and these are people who have beautiful followings on social
Yeah.
media. "I hate social media so much, I wanna get off of it." What do you see happening in the social media space? How are people that you interface with being impacted right now?
I think what's happening is we are going to be more interested in depth instead of width. So, and I've been guilty of this, which means, when it started to actively go from blogger to like, videos and audio and social, um, I was just focused on reach, like everyone else, wanting more followers. And when you get to a certain amount of followers, you're like, okay, that's cool. And now if I could just get 10,000 more, I remember when I first got my 10,000, I was like, okay, if I could just get to 30, I won't want any more. That's enough people. I don't care. And then when I got to 30, I was like, okay, I just need to get to 100. And then once I got to 100, okay, I just need to, and it's nonstop. And I think people are exhausted by that. And so now what I mean by depth is now they're interested in micro communities. They're interested in creating, whether it's online or offline. They would rather go deeper, with 100 people than have 2,000 people follow them that are just kind of looky loos.
Yeah. And thank you for being so honest and transparent about this. What I'm hearing is that it's addictive, and getting into the grind and feeling that your work needs to be validated by others, by followers, by likes, um, can be really painful for the real live humans that are doing this work. And also, when we look out into the space of social media, especially looking for other coaches to signal to us, how this thing goes, when we compare ourselves to others, it kills our joy.
Yeah, yeah. Because now we're caught up in the rat race, right? We're caught up in um, the comparison thing. Gets us to focus on the scoreboard, and then it strips us of the actual process and enjoyment of coaching.
Yeah, and I think there's a big part of social construction that goes into the way that we unconsciously create our personas on social media. I made a really I mean, I'm all over the place on social media. There are some days where I have something to say. There are some days
Hmm.
where I don't. There are some days where I'm like, "Look, here's my dog." Um,
Yeah,
and it's been such a struggle and such a challenge for me to figure out how I'm supposed to show up.
right.
And then there was a certain point where I took it back and I was like, "You know what? I'm not actually supposed to do anything. My job is to coach my clients well and run this company,
Hmm.
and I'm just gonna let that be
Yeah.
the thing," you
Right,
know?
right, and
Uh
there's a truth and a natural, I think, overflow, you and also you putting your focus more on company and like, if videos and social media kind of bring you anxiety, yes, to a certain extent, you actually lean into it and there's growth there, but also, it may not be your truth, meaning that may not be where you wanna spend most of your time, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah, and there's an inflection point there. So when we realize that we're experiencing imposter syndrome and we're looking out into the world and we're catching ourselves, and this is one of the things that coaches are trained to do, and it's really hard to turn the lens on yourself, is to catch yourself when you're comparing yourself to others, when you're
Yeah.
putting too much stock into the status quo. If you can get yourself to begin noticing, "Oh God, I feel so icky. Oh God, what is this?" Then reverse it. Ask yourself, why not me? If someone, anyone in the world has ever presented a fresh idea and it's been successful, why can't you do that too?
Yeah, and you have to disengage from the, popularity contest, and I also get sucked into it every day. Um, I think that's why people are getting sick of social media, because it's become a popularity contest, and they're forgetting why they started this in the first place, and they're starting to, go through the motions and compete with other people instead of, genuinely trying to be of service and help as many people as they can.
Yeah. All right. So those are the potholes. That's the things that we want to avoid, especially as coaches. Those are the things that we've seen derail people for a really long time. Let's talk about what we can do in real world terms as a coach to beat imposter syndrome.
I would say number 1 for me, is, community. It's to not do it
Mhm.
alone. I think when you feel like an imposter and you're isolating and you're going on this journey alone, um, man, that's quicksand. Like, how that's a very slippery tunnel to fall into because you have no one else to support you and tell you otherwise, so you just kind of concave on yourself.
Absolutely. And, as much as we've just decried social media, especially in pandemic times, social media is an excellent place to find community.
Right, right. And I think that's the way to use it is as a tool. Find community and other people, so then you feel less alone. You realize this is normal, and then you guys hold hands and support each other and encourage each other's gifts and stories and all of that. You know.
Yeah. And so if communities is a word that feels tricky for you, what we're also talking about are supportive environments in general.
Hmm.
Maybe that's one or two friends that are also on the coaching or entrepreneurial path. Maybe that is a mentor. Maybe that's a partner. Like John and I have been business partners for forever.
Yeah.
And if you don't have access to an actual fully fledged community, some core intentional relationships can do a world of good for you.
Yes, and this is where when you're saying all this, I'm thinking about also program. If you're thinking about becoming a coach, the program you decide to get involved in, make sure it has this piece, so you are not just swimming, by yourself or holding on to this edge of the pool, but you actually are, doing backflips off the diving board and people are cheering you on and it's fun and there's community. It's one of the things that I didn't have early on in my career when I decided to help people is I felt like I was doing it all by myself.
Oh yeah. And you shouldn't do it all by yourself. You don't have to.
Right.
That's one of the awesome things about humans is they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And you can connect with them. And if it feels a little bit scary at first to say, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find other people who are interested in the same things as me to surround myself with, um, finding role models is a wonderful way to dip your toe in that pool
Right.
and find similarities between you and somebody who's inspiring you.
Yeah, I think they have that saying that yeah, you're as good at you're good as the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And I think there's truth to that when it comes to building a coaching practice and pursuing this career. Uh, that whoever you surround yourself, that includes, your everything from program to friends to what office hours you go to, whatever. Who you learn from. All of that is going to contribute to positioning you and getting you on a path where you can push through the imposter syndrome and process through it instead of letting that hold you down.
Oh yeah, and the key that you said there is surrounding yourself.
Mm,
Immersion is such an important concept in coaching that the more you can hold in your mind's eye and engage with that which you want to do or accomplish, based on the science of priming, whether it's watching documentaries or putting up a vision board or having focused conversations, the immersion piece is what really will drive goal accomplishment.
yeah. So wherever you're at in your coaching journey, you could be, 5 years in and feel imposter syndrome. Don't judge yourself, or you could be just starting this process and feel imposter syndrome. It's a normal process, and there's going to be times that it kind of fades and then it comes back. So what's important is the environment, the structure, the people you surround yourself with, and also allowing yourself to feel it and know that it's normal.
Yes, feel the know that it's normal. And the thought that I'll leave everyone with, and I'm so glad you said you can be 5 years in and still experience this, is that it's okay to change.
Yeah, yeah,
It's okay to change your story. It's okay to change your mind. Everybody has a false start from time to time, and you can rewrite perceived missteps and you can walk forward with open eyes, and try again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say that, as you grow in coaching, your passions may change, what you talk about may change, who you want to help may change. And all of that is part of this. It's what makes it so beautiful.
It is. And if you do experience that, I hope you share with people, because your voice and your story is what will create the ripples.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you for listening. Be well, and we will see you in our office hours. Thanks for listening to Everything Life Coaching. If you're feeling the draw to become a coach, head to journey.co/everything to explore a new career that brings fulfillment, gives you a true sense of purpose, and a strong community to do it in. We created JRNI Coaching to equip you with the tools, training, and community you need to attain your goals.
Join JRNI Coaching and begin your journey towards personal freedom and a transformative state of growth today. That's JRNI.co/everything.